How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Right.
So let's start off with the new film. What can you tell us about the film?
The film's called Pathfinder, and it's a story about a boy who's shipwrecked, a Viking boy who's shipwrecked on the northeast coast of America. He gets adopted by Native American Indians and lives with them for 15 or 20 years. Then all of a sudden one day, Vikings return and massacre his village and basically proceed to hunt him down. And, it's a story of survival, of action and adventure, of love, and ultimately a story about a guy who really finds out who he is.
And how did you get to the project?
I came to the project through primarily reading the script and then sort of meeting and talking with the director, Marcus and Spell, and kind of developed a sort of a good relationship with him and jumped on board.
Marcus is known as a very quick filmmaker. A lot
Yes.
of camera setups, a lot of location for this film. What can you tell us about the filming process and on location?
The filming process is quite unlike anything that I'd ever done before. Like you said, it was very fast, and we were literally running from camera setup to camera setup. And Marcus is very, very good at multitasking. He could have, one location and scene set up, over, in a certain wooded area, and then another, set up on a rock face just around the corner, and you literally do a take. Okay, let's go over here, and it'd be, constantly like that, which was great because it generated a real momentum, and we shot the whole film on adrenaline. And I think it really shows in the final cut.
And how are you with stunt work? Were you down for all your stunts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I kind of, to me, it's physical acting, and I sort of, I really relish that. I enjoy it, and I sort of, that's to me often where a lot of the real work lies, because it feels like physical, manly kind of work rather than just standing in for your close up, and it's fun too. You get to do and say a lot of things that you can never do in real life, and it's a real attraction for me.
And as a filmmaking partner with Marcus, was he collaborative? Did he
very much so. No, Marcus is a very collaborative director, and we developed a really great shorthand. We would constantly reference other films, in trying to get to the bottom of the specifics of the moment, and we just developed a really great working relationship, to the point where at one point we were up on a mountain, and he was shooting one sequence, and he sent me off with a splinter unit to shoot another, part of that same sequence. So I was effectively directing a B unit, So we had a lot of fun on that.
I want to touch on some of the other projects you've been involved with in the past. First, I wanted to talk about Chronicles of Riddick. That, for me, I thought that film was really well done. And what do you think, because I think it's a very good film, what do you think happened to not lead it to the few films that originally were planned?
I don't know. I mean, they still may continue the series. I think it's really up to the powers that be, but it certainly, in its concept, was designed to be a part of this Psi mythology. Who can say? I mean, there may well be in the future, the Chronicles 2, Journey to the Underverse. You just watch this space.
And obviously, there's a lot of people who know you from Lord of the Rings.
Right.
What is it like being in films that are going to be remembered for generations? These are iconic films that are really loved by so many people. And, you ever think back on it, or just remember?
I do. Lord of the Rings was probably, one of the most amazing filmmaking experiences of my life, and it's a project that I hold very dear to my heart. And the friendships that were forged through the making of that have endured. You know, I'm very very proud of that series of films, and you know. You know, occasionally I do sort of think back to you know, some of those days, and you know, I kind of I sincerely hope that New Line and Peter Jackson can resolve their differences, and so that we can all you know, once again sort of share Peter's vision of Middle-earth for the prequel, The Hobbit. You know,
and that's what I was going to follow up on. Do you speak to any of the other actors and sort of lament where it's gone, where there's so much animosity between the filmmaker and the studio? And
oh yeah, I mean, you know, I think we all feel you know, saddened by what has transpired. You know, I totally understand it. You know, it's just a tragedy when you know, people can't put aside their business differences and focus on you know, the artistic craft of making movies. You know, I get it. You know, it is a business, and it's a tragedy when something like this does happen. But you know, it's not over, and I'm hoping, as are I'm sure many people, that the differences will be resolved, and that the Pete will be able to make The Hobbit. You know.
And for future projects, what do you look for, or what are you looking for now as a kind of character that you want to play?
Well, primarily something that's different to anything that I've done in the past. That's sort of the first thing that currently I'm looking for. But beyond that, I don't have some sort of strategy or plan as to exactly how I'd like my career to evolve. I really never know what film I'm going to do until the script lands in front of me and I've got the time and the availability. And I respond to the material, and you know, if I read something and I kind of find myself, you know, starting to make decisions about how I would play it, or I start sort of empathizing or feeling for these characters in the situation, then that's a pretty good indication that you know, if it's that good on the page, then theoretically, hopefully, it can only get better as you transfer that to the medium of film.
And have you done anything since this project?
Since Pathfinder, yeah, I shot a New Zealand film called Out of the Blue, which is about a massacre that occurred in a sleepy seaside community in, I think it was 1992 or 4 in New Zealand, where 13 people were gunned down by a schizophrenic gunman, and it was just a complete chaotic scene. And to that point, historically, the New Zealand police had never really encountered anything like that. I mean, automatic weapons. These guys were going into a situation, these policemen were going into a situation where they were dealing with a seriously armed offender, and they had little service revolvers. I mean, it was, you know, a big wake-up call for us. I mean, you guys had already had your Columbine, and you know, Britain already had their Hungerford, but that was kind of our version of that. So that was a really heavy film to make. And after that, I shot a Western called Comanche Moon with Steve Zahn and Val Kilmer, and that's going to screen later on this year. It's a mini-series. It's a prequel to Lonesome Dove. I don't know if you're familiar with Lonesome Dove, yeah. And I'd always wanted to do a Western, so I kind of jumped at that.
And how is it working with Val Kilmer? I've heard he can be very intense.
Great, I love Val. He's a good cat, you know. You know, we had a lot of fun. He is funny as hell, that's for sure. He's a great guy. I like him.